Datino doing my Friday afternoon live with Tony broadcast. And today's session is going to be on the continued challenges we're facing with COVID-19 and the stress that gives us. And I guess what I feel very strongly about is we keep seeing articles and learning, day by day, coping with stress in the pandemic. Okay, so what are we doing to cope with stress in the pandemic? And we just don't seem to be getting any better with it. It seems to be the isolation and the things we still don't know, and now we have variants, creating a continued level of stress on people. And guess what I feel very strong about is that the work we do with the maximum memory mastery that covers 6 elements of brain health, we can all be doing, even during this period of time, that would help us enhance our ability to deal with the stress that just is the byproduct of what we're trying to do to stay well, safe, and trusting in being able to avoid the COVID. And they're basic and fundamental that we can use at any time. As I've said in prior broadcasts, we can use them as ways of helping us to improve our heart health as well as our cognitive function, our brain health. And it just frustrates me sometimes when they seem to be so simple and basic that more and more people don't realize that they can take more control over things that are happening to them. So what do I mean by all this? Okay, so let's quickly go over through. All right, we're in a stressful situation. We know we're dealing with stress. We know that the stress, right, it can be based on the trauma that we're dealing with and we're going through. And as we go through that trauma, we build up a level of anxiety. We may be a little bit afraid and scared. We may get angry. We may be resentful. But we need to be resilient. We need to be able to deal with the stress and be resilient. Day after day on the news, we're hearing more about drugs and anxiety attacks and more people that are falling to the COVID, not from the COVID itself, but from the impacts of quarantining and breaking off of social interaction. So let's go through the 6 elements of brain health. And let's see if you can grab some of these. I know I'm coaching some people on what they are and asking them, okay, so what can you do for social interaction? One of the elements are social interaction. We're hardwired to want to be social beings. This is like the biggest experiment in lab study ever done on how we are hardwired for social interaction. And this is the jackpot. Millions and millions of people being quarantined, testing the interaction or the lack thereof and what it does. I was listening to a few people today. We have a good-sized community pool. I was listening to 3 people that seem to travel here from the north, and they're talking about how people are just going into bars and indoor restaurants, and they're just breaking out. They just want to get out and see people, and what the challenges are to that, with the risk of spreading COVID back into another bubble of COVID. So social interaction. So what are things we can do? We keep talking about Zoom. Just putting yourself into a safe position, looking out a window. If you're someplace where you see people walking by, I'll sit out on our front porch, watch people just walking by with their dogs in the morning walks or the afternoon or the evenings. It's simple. I just sit there and watch them, and once in a while you say hello, and sometimes you'll stop, and we have a good 10 feet between the porch and the sidewalk, so you can talk to people. What about mental challenges? Mental challenges. What are we doing to continue to put ourselves in a learning to learn mode? Our brain loves new information and knowledge. It's one of the healthiest things that we can do. And during this period of pandemic, we're shutting a lot of that down because we just get stressed and depressed and don't want to learn. We're hearing more about Zooming and Zooming doom and the doom of Zoom, and it's just awful. And so, but it doesn't have to be. What is something you can learn? Something on Facebook. There are all kinds of educational videos. We offer the maximum memory mastery with a guarantee. If it doesn't work for you, you get a refund on it. And so there are things we can do to bring ourselves to mental challenges that are good for us. And as we look at those mental challenges, let's go for it. Let's do something. That is in a learning, growing, healthy mode for our brain. Then what do we do for stress? Well, we talk about resilience. What are things that you can do in your life that bring a level of resilience? I keep talking about go find your own space in your own residence. Go find your space in terms of where you can go. Just be to yourself for a half an hour. I know I talk to sometimes the moms and them like that with the kids and the husband and cooking and working and whatever. I've got like 8 things going on. I can't do that. Well, we have to find time where all of us can find our little space to where we have our resilience and recovery. Maybe it's music. I've found some different music stations on the TV now that I listen to. And sometimes it's just classical music and just orchestra music, and I call it doctor's office music. And just finding things where you just get those moments of where you can calm down and you can build a little bit of your own resilience. We've talked about exercising over and over again, the importance of exercise. And exercise doesn't mean you have to go out and run a marathon race. I keep saying to people, exercise is get up and move. And there's even in a small apartment, I always say, you know what, go find a brick or something that's firm that you can stand on and just go up and down, up and down. Just lift your feet up, move those leg muscles, get your calves going, get your ankles moving, get your thighs, and just step up and down, do steps. If you live in a residence with steps, my goodness, three flights of steps, that's a bonus. Go up 3 flights of steps. Take them a little bit at a time and find something you can do. Lifting your, if you're buying groceries and you got distilled or bottled water, or you're buying milk in jugs and containers, just lift those up. Do 5 times sitting there, watching television if you want to, but just keep those, and then move them this way. Just find ways of keeping your major muscle groups engaged. Sitting down and standing up, sitting down and standing up, doing squats, sitting down and standing up. And you can just go on and on. Nutritional habits. We keep talking about the importance of the foods that we eat and the nutritional habits that we have, and the fact that foods that are good for a healthy heart are also good for a healthy brain. So it's important to make sure we have our proteins, make sure we have our fats. We don't want, not the bad fats, we want to make sure we get the right kinds of fats in our diet. And so fats are an important thing. So what's our nutritional habits? And it's so discouraging to me when I hear that people have put on weight during the COVID-19 time period, when you should be able to look at labels and look at calories. You can look at fat content. You can look at sodium and salt content. You can look at the sugar contents. And that this is like the best time that you could ever have to really monitor and be mindful of the foods that you eat and how those foods that you eat and the nutritional impacts of them can make such a difference in terms of what you're able to do and what you're able to eat. And that this would be a fabulous time actually for more people to lose weight in the combination of the exercise and the mental challenges and the stress and the resilience. And then, of course, if you got all of that working, all of that's working, I've done a number of broadcasts on the importance of sleep. And that sleep, knowing we have to get to sleep is one thing, but getting to the point where you break yourself apart and calm yourself down. And maybe you want to write things out on a pad next to your bed when you get up and things are bothering you. But the importance of sleep, that we've learned, it cleans out the toxins that are in your brain and purifies your cognitive functions, helps your retention and memory of things, helps you to retain things you want to retain, and then pass with your resilience the things and get rid of the things that are upsetting to you and causing you to have mental stresses and anxieties that build more of the negative aspects of things. So sleep, I've given another Live with Tony's on just the elements of sleep. And now you have to discipline yourself to following those regimens. But here's the hard part about sleep. I know I have to get to sleep. By God, I know it's bad if I don't get to sleep. Build a little bit of stress relief and a little resilience, and find something that you can get to sleep with that's comforting. And alcohol is not one of them. Alcohol will only get you to sleep for a couple hours, and then you get up and you're really bad news. For me, reading. I read some of my articles at night. I read crossword puzzles. I'll do maybe 10 minutes, and I'll hit the pillow and go to sleep. Now, if my head's working and churning on things, sometimes I'll get up in the middle of the night. I learn to get up out of bed and not lay there and toss and turn. I jot things down because your brain wants to keep reminding you not to forget this. So get up, write it down, and your brain says, go back to sleep. And then when you get up in the morning, you're fresh, you're alive, you're awake, and you're ready to go for another day. But I cannot encourage enough of you to look at the Maximum Memory Mastery online course and take especially a look at the lesson plan in there on the elements of brain health. Well, this is our Friday night broadcast. It is time for the weekend. So I hope all of you are practicing safe distancing, certainly masking in terms of where you're going. Hopefully more and more of you have gotten your doses of the vaccines. And most important, keep washing those hands. So until Monday evening or Monday afternoon, look forward to seeing you. I'm doing this one a little bit early on Friday. We're actually going to meet some folks that are down from upper New York State. They're down here visiting for a few weeks, and we're going to socially distance, 10 feet away, masking, no hand washing because we're not hugging. We're going to hang out with a few friends from the Northeast and start our weekend off with a little bit of social interaction, and we may even provide some stress relief and resilience in the course of that, and then come home and have a nutritional dinner. And I've already done my exercises for the day. I've done my running and I've done my stretching, and tomorrow is the weightlifting. So I've got a good weekend planned, and all of you should do the same. And we'll see you on Monday.